Well, guess what day it is? The bovines are excited about it. They're all coming over here to watch. They probably think that they're getting, you know, extra feed or something because of the sound of this, but no. We're gonna plant corn some way or another. It's all ready to go. I was gonna do it yesterday and then it rained. What a surprise. But I think we're good to go. The only thing I need to do is tighten down the seed plates because they are not tightened down. We just kind of put them on there to keep the dirt out. So we'll tighten those down and then we'll put the seed in and we should be ready to hit this thing. So yeah, that's where we'll go and we'll get started right after this. Welcome back. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Ross the Oliver Man. 5100 white planter that was basically scrap, and we brought it back from the dead, and today is going to be its inaugural run. So we're gonna do some checking of things real quick. Also, I need to get the grease gun and we need to grease a few things right quick before we go, which is no big deal. That shouldn't take long. Seed plates are the first order of business. I'm wondering if I should take one out and just show how the seed fits in the plate. We will, let's open the door here. I didn't get all my seed, just enough to get started, but I got this corn. Let's see what the bag even says to do. Buddy the dog. Sure. White air. Regular disc or small disc, which I have both of those, and right now the regular disc, the 435, is in there. So this is PDR, and it says, if I'm reading this right, you see, because it has all this stuff up top, and it says PDR. So we're going to follow PDR column here. Then we should have it should take 1.0 to 1.5 air pressure with the regular disc, it says. Because this is 80,000 kernels? Question mark? Yeah. So, you know, if we had a plate planter, then we would have to go up here to like this column, and it would be a B2524, because that's what these are, PDR. Usually what I would get, or try to have them get me, was like F14s or R23s if I had the plate planter. But this should all be the same thing. PDR. So, like I said, if I'm reading that right, the regular disc, 852 435. Let's open one of these and get a few kernels, and we'll do a test here. Those bovines are driving me nuts. I know I'm out here, but you don't have to be right here hollering at me. Let's just take some seed here. I mean, I'm guessing it will, I don't know. To me that looks about right, and it'll do the thing that it needs to do. I mean, those fit in there, and then they'll hit the brush. Let me go get the other plate and just compare. Here's the small plate that was in it. And if they go in there. I'm wondering what I want. With that, there's a potential for doubles. The tickler brushes should rake off the... What do I want to do? What do I want to do? I don't know. If I have the small plate, then I need to crank up the air pressure a little bit according to that. Well, now I'm kind of puzzled. I don't know which one I would rather have. I believe that this one, it's going to rake off this extra double. But I don't know, friends. I don't know. Let me do some thinking on this, and then we will get going. We need to grease it anyway, so sure. But I think it'll do whatever I want with either I want, as long as I set the air pressure correctly. I'm just worried with that small one that maybe there'll be some irregular shaped ones that won't do the thing, and then maybe it would get stuck in there. So I don't know. Yeah. All right, I had an executive board meeting in my brain, and I'm going with the small seed plate that I had all along. And the only reason is I'm afraid that, you know, this one would work. You got to turn the air pressure down so that it can knock off the extra one. But what I'm afraid of is when you got the air pressure too low, if you hit a bump or something in the field, you could knock all the seed out and then have problems. I would rather have this plate that it's going to have that just plastered up there with air, and then I don't know. I mean, there's times when I look at it and I think, well, maybe it should be different, but I think that's what I want. We'll do a test pass in the driveway here and see, but I'm thinking that this is what I'm after for this type of seed, but I didn't know what kind of seed I was going to get. So if I had had those R23s like they normally get me, then I probably would have had to have the medium seed plate. Let's look at the chart again. Well, it still shows that you would use the small, unless you got to like an F12, then you would have had to have the medium. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to put the smalls on. We'll put seed in the box, and we'll give a test pass here in the driveway just to see if that's what we want. And then we'll go to the field. Buddy the dog just hanging out watching us. I got the plates put in, so now I'm going to put the seed in, and then, like I said, we'll grease it, and then we'll test pass it here in the driveway and see what we got. It may seem odd to test it in the driveway, but that's what we've always done. I'm not going to pour it all in either. I think I'll put in like 5 bags to start with. And that'll get us some idea where we are. Why, you say? Because I'm pretty sure this is like $400 a bag. So, yeah. Come on. There we go. It occurs to me that some people may not know how this goes. I mean, something as simple as opening a sack, but they have it tied together, and then one end you can pull this string. But anyway, if you pull the lacing this way, then it will unravel, and then you can pour. Now I need to divide this up amongst 4, since this is the 5th bag, and I don't want to put in any more than that to start with. I want to see how I'm going, because like I said, about $400 a bag, you want to not use more than you have to. We got to try to judge about 1/4 of a bag. All right, grease and then test. And consequently, I did send that Oliver guy a message with a picture of those plates, and he just now responded, and he gave the exact same answer that I just gave on camera, which was he would go with the smaller one where you use higher pressure. I would rather I use higher pressure to keep one seat on versus low where bumps start getting you skips. And that's exactly what my reasoning was too, because I know that if you hit a rough enough bump, it will knock the seat out of the plates, and I would rather have to deal with getting doubles with too high pressure, and then, you know, skips with too low a pressure. So I think the small plate is the good winner in this case. Let me go get the grease gun and give a few shots to stuff, and then we should be ready to do our test run here. And if that looks good, then we're gonna go out there. Man, unfortunately it's windy, so I don't know if there'll be any droning or not, but this is pretty aggressively wind. I don't know if it'll fly in this, so whatever. But let me go get the grease gun and I'll bring you right back. All right, we're gonna see what happens here. We need to get the locks out, so let's fire this up. Let's turn the air on too. Now that's interesting. Oh. I'm going to start with that there. All right. Now, will you not sit there for a minute? I know it's windy, but gee. I'm supposed to be able to put this. There. Storage position. Got air. We should we know it's right, but let's just double check that we feel air everywhere. Now we'll set her down and we'll pull forward. With any luck, we should see 4 rows of seed evenly spaced. Yeah, look at that. That's pretty good. This is kind of rough, so there are some maybe skips. There it looks like it put a double. I don't know, that'll work. I guess I didn't give it far enough. It was still priming the seed plate. Because as you get up closer to the planter, it's a lot more better. We probably can't see in there. Well, yeah, we can. There's one seed in every pocket. That's what we wanted. Yeah. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I think it's gonna work. When we get moving at normal speed, it should be more accurate. This messing around real slow, that don't do it for me. Or, you know what I'm saying? All right, we're gonna roll with this and see what happens. Cultivator raked up a dirt pile in the dark. We'll deal with that in a little bit. All right, here we go. We're gonna give this a try and see what happens. I got the drone up there somewhere. I see it. It's watching us, so we should be good to go. we're gonna check some stuff. We're gonna see how we're doing. Everything appeared good. There's a seed. I don't know where I raked it from though. There's one. Let's try something else here. There's one. There's one. There's one. That's pretty good. There to there to there. I don't know if I don't know if that's really the depth I want. Let's see, every turn of the handle is like a 1/4 inch. So I think I want to, let's do the one. Ooh. Why is that? What has happened here? Well, that's a new wrinkle that I haven't had before. Huh. Well, we're probably going to be working on that. I don't know why that's not floating. It's getting stuck. My bolt too tight? I don't know. think everything's working. However, that was a pathetic second pass. I need to focus more on what I'm doing. So there's not going to be much more filming, unfortunately. That there bothers me. I don't know why it's doing what it's doing, and I hate to say that I'm probably gonna have to run home to fix it, but something ain't right. Why that arm it got so tight, because that wasn't like that earlier. But it's putting seed in the ground, and we're just gonna go with it. We'll see what happens. That dirt pile needs dealt with. I guess I'll run it home. I'll fix that gauge wheel. I'll get the 9650 and quickly rake that out of there. And then I'll come back and continue this. All right, take two. I think I got everything lined out now. So, and I think when I get there, I'm just gonna plant for a while without the camera so that I can study up on everything that's happening, and if I need to make any changes, I don't really have time to babysit filming or the drone or any of that. If I get confident in it after a while, I might get more footage, but we gotta do a good job first. The filming is second. Dealt with. I need to get a run at this one because there's no seat in the plates now. Well, that's awesome. Like I said, that second pass back is not my greatest work, but what I do to do this without markers is just pick a place on the tractor and try to line it up with that other row, and then that's what I follow. And I think it needs to be this edge of the handle. That should get me. So yeah. right, let's check and see how this is going. I think it's working out about right, what I thought at this point. So I just have to watch it. These air planners don't like it when you get too low on seed in the box, and it'll start popping. It'll jump around like popcorn in a popper. So you got to watch that. But everything's looking good, and I think we're on our way. It's not going to be perfect straight with only one marker, but one marker's better than no marker, I found. And it can't be any worse than that drunken midnight plant fest we had last year. That was kind of a disaster when it came up, but I don't know. So far, I'm happy with this. So I'm going to keep going, and we will see what we can accomplish, and hopefully I'll get this done without incident. So I think I'm going to leave this one here while everything's still working. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.